Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about over on this channel today, and so I started going through the comments underneath my last couple of videos and looking at the comments and seeing if it was like sparking anything that I wanted to talk about. Before I get into what I'm going to talk about today, which is people pleasing, I wanted to say thank you so much for leaving the comments underneath these videos. You know, I learned so much from the comments that you leave. There's so many comments that I read and I'm like, oh wow, like I never thought of it that way. Or, oh, I so relate to what this person is saying, and I've gone through something similar and I really get what they're going through, and this is like so difficult, right? And so I just want to say I really appreciate all the comments that you guys leave, even if they're just like blue hearts or whatever. It means a lot to me that people watch this channel. I get on here and make videos just talking about things I've learned in my life, and you know, mistakes I've made that I've learned from, things I've gone through with grieving and recovery, and just on and on and on. And I love everything about this channel. So just I wanted to say thank you so much for watching this channel. So I read this comment, and the comment said something to the effect of, my phone's upstairs, or I would read you the comment. The comment said something to the effect of, I'm a people pleaser, that's my goal that I'm working on in 2024. And I was thinking about this because it was on my video where I talked about changing. I think it was called I've Changed. And it was on my video where I talked about people in our lives that support us through the changes that we've made, and then people that really struggle with changes that we make in our life, you know? And I got a lot of people sharing stories that they've gone through as well. A couple people emailed me and things like that. It's interesting, on this channel specifically, I get a lot of emails from people that will say, hey, I didn't want to share this comment with you, but I wanted to let you know what's like going on in my life and how much your video went to me, and that means so much to me. I just want to say thank you so much. But you know, this whole concept of people pleasing, which I kind of referenced in that video a little bit, and I talked about how I have been a people pleaser for much of my life. You know, I think the whole idea is interesting. I wanted to read a definition online. I literally just Google searched what is a people pleaser, because I wanted us to kind of like all be on the same page for what the definition is. And the definition I came up with says, a people pleaser is a person who puts others' needs ahead of their own. This type of person is highly attuned to others and often seen as agreeable, helpful, and kind, but people pleasers can also have trouble advocating for themselves, which can lead to a harmful pattern of self-sacrifice or self-neglect. And you know, I think the ways that I have been a people pleaser in my past is that, and I still struggle with it today, right, is that I would go to things that I didn't want to go to just to make people in my life happy. I think there is a certain importance in life with family, friends, especially our spouses or partners, to suit up and show up to go to things. There were many years of my life that I didn't do that because of social anxiety, and it became very intrusive into the relationships in my life. So I try to show up to things now. But if there are things that like I really don't want to go to, I have no interest, I don't do that anymore, just out of the need of like trying to make somebody happy, right? And in all honesty, in retrospect, a lot of the people that I was trying to make happy, you know, by showing up to things, like my husband, you know, like he would say, like, do you want to go to this thing? And I would go to it because I just wanted, you know, him to like be okay that I, you know, was going to it or whatever. Like now, like if he'll ask me if I want to go to things, sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. And, you know, like I'll say to him, do you care? And he'll be like, I don't care if you go at all. I'm just extending the invitation, you know? Other things he'll say like, yeah, this is like a couple's thing. I'd really like you to go, right? And so I think it's kind of important, you know, with like my friend Tanya Jean, like there's been things that I have been very, and her as well. I mean, I feel like I've had people please me in my life and whatever. And the thing is that I did it for so long in my life to the point that my own happiness was sacrificed out of doing things for people that, like, ultimately my goal was just to make them happy, which I think is a great goal, right? Like if you want to make other people happy in life, right? But at the expense of your own happiness. What I also found was at the same time that I was trying to be a people pleaser or please people, I think often we wear this as a badge of honor, like I'm a people pleaser, when I don't think it's a badge of honor at all, in all honesty. I think often the side that goes with that is, the side note that goes with that is, I'm a people pleaser, and then to ourselves or to some of the people that we're closest with in our lives, we'll say things and complain, like if they knew how hard I'm doing things for them, or if they knew how hard I'm working for them, and then we turn it into kind of a martyrdom, right? So the question I had to ask myself over all these years of being a people pleaser, and also being a people pleaser, was when people would bring up things that I completely disagreed with their point of view, or I thought that they were saying things that went completely against my belief system, I would just kind of because I didn't want confrontation, I didn't want to get into an argument with them. Do you see little Mr. Boo Radley walking around the background? He's missing the Christmas tree, because the Christmas tree is down. But anyway, a lot of people that would say things, and I don't really have these people in my life today, and one of the reasons why is because I stopped being a people pleaser to them. And what would happen is that I would have people, and they would say things, and I'd be like, that's not consistent with what I believe, and I would say something, or I wouldn't say anything because I wanted to make them happy, and I knew that citing my stance or my beliefs would be in opposition to theirs, and then it would start an argument or be confrontational. My friend Tanya and I were actually talking about this yesterday, that, in almost 26, 27 years of friendship, best friends, right, that we've had one argument, and it was over something so small and petty, and we made up hours later, but we've never had arguments or disagreements about difference in beliefs, and that can be about anything, right? Through the years, we've had differences in beliefs about technology or whatever, I would say today we're pretty much on the same page as our belief systems about everything. I think that kind of happens over time with your friends and the people around you, that you start kind of culminating a group of people around you that have the same beliefs as you. But through the years, we've had many conversations where I'll say things like, I grew up in a very liberal religious and home, and Tanya did not. Tanya grew up in a more serious religious home. And so our backgrounds of how we view the world today, and she's not today that person, and I'm not that person either today, but our views from how we grew up affect how we look at the world, right? So let's say if we were having a conversation about religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, things like that. Never once have we ever, in 26, 27 years, had an argument where I'm like, you need to believe this, or you're not seeing it the right way, and she's like, no, you're not seeing it this right way. And we were talking last night about that. I said, I think it's so interesting that in almost 26, 27 years of a friendship, we've never once had an argument. We've always had these open discussions, and I think it's part of the problem of what's happened in our world, is that we're not able to have these conversations anymore. And she said, we've always remained open to learning from each other's experiences. And I think that is so important, right? But there was a period in my life where I was really afraid, people would make gay jokes to my face, and I wouldn't say anything. I'd just kind of laugh along. And then there was a point where I was like, this is not funny to me. I'm not laughing along anymore, because it hurts me inside, and I have to start standing up for the things that, I believe in. It's like the saying, I love the movie The Contender. At the very end of the movie, the main character, she says something, that principles only mean something if you stick to them when they're inconvenient. And that means in those most difficult situations that you stand up for what you believe in. And you don't have to be nasty about it. You don't have to scream it. But you can just simply state how you feel and your belief system. And you don't have to stay in conversations that where people are speaking ignorance to you. You just don't have to do that. I think I did that out of people-pleasing, just to make people happy. When I went and did some inventory years ago in recovery over being a people pleaser, because one of the things we look at is character defects in recovery, and my character defect I looked at the time was people pleasing. And when I looked at that, I'll never forget my sponsor looking at me and saying, what's your motive for people pleasing? And I was like, what do you mean? What's my motive? I just want to make people happy. And I remember this is when I first started working with my sponsor that I have now. So I don't know how long ago that would have been. But I said, she was like, no, what's your personal motive for people pleasing? And I was like, well, I just like people to be happy. She goes, what do you get out of it? What's your gain? This is the pivotal moment that things changed for me, okay? Because when she asked me that question, she said, what do you get out of that? And I had to take a serious look at that, right? and ask myself, what do you get out of people pleasing? Well, what I realized was that my acts, okay, of people pleasing or making people happy wasn't necessarily selfless and altruistic, okay? It wasn't out of the goodness of my heart. What I was really looking for was pats on the back, people liking me. I really wanted people to like me. And so I was willing to risk my own belief systems, my own happiness, my own self-care. Like it talks in here about, it leads to self-sacrifice and self-neglect. I was willing to neglect my own needs out of my need to be liked by other people. When I was willing to start working on that being a character defect, okay, on why did I need approval from people so badly? Why did I need to be liked by people so badly? Why did I need validation from people so badly? When I started looking at those things, the people pleasing went away, okay? That doesn't mean that today I don't do kind things for people. You know, that doesn't mean today that I am not a nice person to people or I don't compliment people. That doesn't mean that sometimes I don't hold my tongue because the conversation is just not worth it, but not always. Today I am who I am in my interactions with people, because I know that the people that I interact with, the small group that I have in my life, right? And I have a very small group of people in my life. The small group that I have love me for who I am. Whether I'm bending over backwards to do something for them or whether I'm sitting in a chair, I'm not doing anything. Whether I agree with them or whether I disagree with them, we can have a conversation. I don't need to be this people-pleasing person because I know that the people in my life today love me for who I am, right? I don't need validation from them. I don't need pats on the back. I don't need all that, right? I need to be able to be who I am and know that the people in my life accept me for that. That doesn't mean that they're not going to challenge me. That doesn't mean that they're not going to say, I think that you need to take a look at this or work on this and whatever. And likewise, I might say that to them as well. It doesn't mean that, okay? But I don't want to be a people pleaser to other people, and I don't want a bunch of people pleasers in my life, because what that literally means is that you're having inauthentic, lack of genuine relationships with people in your life. They don't really mean anything, because people are doing and saying things to you out of their own selfishness of needing validation. And for people out there that are like, I'm a people pleaser, but you're having a hard time hearing this, if you dig a little deeper and you ask yourself, truly, what is my motive for being a people pleaser? What am I getting out of being a people pleaser? What you'll realize is you're getting a lot out of it. You really, really are. You're getting some things out of it that maybe you didn't realize, you know? Because most people that I've talked to when I was a people pleaser and after that, when they, you know, when I would say things to them, when I started learning this about like, well, what's your motive? What do you mean, what's my motive? Do you know how hard, like I take care of this person, I take care of that person, I take care of this person. Okay, are you doing it to tell everybody? Or are you doing it out of the goodness of your heart? Because there's a huge difference in that, right? Like, I know people that do so much for everybody in their life. Like, my Aunt Kathy passed away, and I'll never forget, her neighbor and one of her dearest friends got up and gave a eulogy. And in her eulogy, she started talking about, like, all these things that my aunt had done. All of these, like, and I'm not just talking about fundraisers and charities which she was involved in, but I'm talking about, like, things that she did for her neighbors, things that she did for people in her life that I was completely unaware of, that she just did out of the goodness of her heart, you know? And I was never aware of these things because she never spoke of them. She never told people, this is who I am, and this is the greatest thing that I ever did, and blah, 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 whatever. That moment after my aunt had passed away, which yesterday was the anniversary of her passing, you know, was such a valuable learning lesson to me that those angels here on earth are truly people that are doing really kind acts and shutting their mouth about it. That is the literal definition of altruism, right? And that's who I want to be. That might not be who I am today, but that's who I aim to be. You know, because when I was people pleasing, I wanted people to notice it. I wanted people to acknowledge it. And if they didn't, then I was complaining about all that I was doing for everybody and nobody realized it, right? So it was really all about me. It was very self-centered, you know, and that was something that I had to take a look at. And I don't want to be that person today. I don't want to be that person going forward. It doesn't mean that it changes overnight. You know, so when people say, like, I'm a people pleaser, the one thing I would recommend to you, because this is what I had to do, this was the hard work. When we talk about doing the hard work, some of the hard work is looking at things that we don't want to look at, right? When I had to do the hard work to stop being a people pleaser, which was exhausting, it was exhausting to be a people pleaser, right? The hardest thing for me to look at was, what's my payoff? What am I getting out of this? And when I started looking at that, and I was pissed when it was brought to my attention, when I started looking at that and realizing that there was a great payoff by me being a people pleaser, then I had to look at why I needed that. That was hard. Okay? That was harder than stopping being a people pleaser. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you and my experience with being, a people pleaser and trying to work out of that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.